Oh no, everything's in fault because we've got no power. This is what I was worried about. This switch right here is our connection to the grid, and today I'm switching it off. Last year, we installed this solar and battery system for our business, and I made the bold claim that I think we can run our business off-grid. And in this video, we're gonna put it to the test. So let me explain the setup here. We've got 2 stacks of 𝐒𝐮 Energy commercial and industrial batteries. This system is called 𝐒𝐮 stack. Each of these battery modules is 12 kilowatt hours of capacity, and we've got 10 of them. So we've got a total of 120 kilowatt hours of storage capacity. The inverter up there is a 60 kilowatt inverter, but we've only got about 31 kilowatt peak of solar panels on the roof. The idea is that during the day, the solar needs to generate enough power to power the building and store up enough excess energy in these batteries to run the building overnight, so that by the morning the batteries are still not at zero, and when the sun comes up again the batteries start to be topped up again. And in theory this is an infinite cycle as long as there's enough sunshine. But the problem is we live in Britain and the weather is not the most reliable, shall we say. For example, we have a lot of grey, cloudy days like it is today, and we have a lot of days where it just rains non-stop. So if we're to survive off-grid for a month or more, we're going to be relying on decent-ish weather or enough battery storage to tie us over for several days if we have a good day followed by a couple of bad days in a row. So this is the current state of affairs. We're about to go off-grid. Currently the batteries are at 54%. It's 8:30 in the morning, it's a little bit cloudy, but we're already generating 2.4 kilowatt, and all of that is being used on site currently. Now I need to switch the system from AI mode to self-consumption mode. 𝐒𝐮 AI mode has generated an estimated £165.48 for you. Are you sure you want to disable it? Oh, this is gonna cost me money. So now we're gonna switch on self-consumption mode, and now we're going to go off grid. This is called the main switch or main isolator switch, and every property in the UK has one of these or should have to turn off the power to your entire property. Now it's really designed as a safety switch. It's not designed to just cut you off from the grid to do a test like this, but in this case it's the best way for us to cut our property off from the grid. So the setup is you've got our main fuses here, and this is the power cable that connects us to the grid. The power goes through these fuses into our electricity meter, and then out of our electricity meter into our main switch, and from there it goes up into our distribution board and all of our equipment. And now that that's switched off, we have no physical connection for electricity to come from the grid or for us to send electricity back to the grid either. Now as you can see, we are off grid right now, and that's going to stay until the batteries get to zero and we're forced to connect back to the grid.
Welcome.
Right guys, just so you know, we're now off grid. So there's going to be a 2 coffee per day limit for everyone.
No chance.
Yeah, but seriously, if the battery gets to zero, we will lose power. If it does, worst case scenario, someone's just going to have to go into the mains room and just flick the main switch back on basically. But we're going to see how long we can last off grid. So it's the end of day 1 of being off grid, and Matt just said to me, what happens if the alarm goes off? Like, what happens if we lose battery tonight and then the fire alarm system's got no power, the burglar alarm system's got no power?
We are the neighbour's worst nightmare.
What else could possibly go wrong? But we're at 79% battery. So in theory, we should be all right. In fact, it's 4:30 now, and the solar is still generating more than we're using currently. So I'm quietly confident that we'll make it through the night all right, but I'll update you in the morning. Right, well, it's 6:30 a.m. And I've just checked in on the system via the 𝐒𝐮 Energy app in the office, and we're still at 54% battery. And now that the solar's not generating, it's telling us we've got 30 odd hours of power remaining in the batteries without any solar generation. So I'm now confident that we can make it at least through one night. Now it's been quite mild, which means that actually the heating has not been on full blast. If it does get cold, then that might start to be a problem, but so far so good. So we've been off grid for a full week now, and it's actually been a lot easier than I expected, but I've noticed a big problem. So yesterday was a perfectly sunny day. As you can see, we've got a beautiful solar curve ramping up here, starting about 7:30 in the morning. The batteries are starting to fill up. We're generating more and more solar. And by 11:15, we're generating nearly 15 kilowatts of solar PV. But then by 11:40, it suddenly drops off right down to 0.9 kilowatts. And this is what we call clipping. This is because the batteries are now full. The building's only using 0.9 kilowatts and there's nowhere else for that solar energy to go. Normally it would be exported to the grid and we'd get paid for it. And that curve would continue throughout the day and drop down like that. So we're missing all of this potential solar energy here because of clipping, because we can't export any power. And that is costing us a small fortune. And to anyone who doesn't understand solar, when you cut yourself off from the grid, that breaks it both ways. So you can't pull any power in from the grid, but you also can't sell any power out back to the grid. Now the question you might wonder is, well, how does it reduce the power that the solar panels are generating? And actually, this is something that I hadn't really looked into much before, but what it does is it changes the voltage on the string to stop the solar panels from generating as much power. So the solar panels themselves are not generating as much power. They're matched down to the demands within the building. This is all via the inverter, and how an inverter normally works is it works on something called MPPT, maximum power point tracking. That's basically the inverter finding the sweet spot of voltage in order to generate the maximum amount of current on the circuit to generate as many kilowatts as possible for your building. What the solar inverter does is it goes off that MPP, maximum power point, and it puts the voltage up or lowers the voltage down in order to essentially force the solar panels to generate less current. And that's how it does the clipping. So we're going to need to try and make use of this power somehow. Otherwise, this whole exercise is just costing us a fortune. And I've come up with 3 options that I think we might be able to use to harness this excess energy. So number 1 is pretty obvious. We've got an electric car. In fact, we've got 2 of them, and we've not got around to fitting an EV charger yet. So we could put an EV charger in and use that solar energy to charge my electric car. The second option is we can mine Bitcoin. Use that excess solar energy to mine Bitcoin and make a small fortune. But there is one thing, they cost like 10 grand. Right, well the votes have come through from Instagram and everyone voted that I should try the EV charging first. So I've just installed an EV charger here at the HQ, which to be honest was long overdue anyway. And here it is. So we just had a spare 22 kilowatt Zappy and we're now charging the car at 11 kilowatts, which I think is the fastest the AC onboard charger can do from the Tesla Model 3. And all of the energy that's charging this car right now is coming from that big shiny orb in the sky, which feels pretty good. So the entire building is now running from the solar, and the car is charging from the solar, and the batteries are at 70 odd percent. It's only just before midday. It's about 11:57. So the batteries have already charged up to 70 odd percent. My car's going to be fully charged in about 3 hours, and then we'll have the rest of the day to still fill the batteries up to 100%, ready to last overnight. So I think this is a good solution. Now, for those of you who've fitted Zappies before, it puzzled me a little bit how to actually get it to work off grid, because normally there's a grid CT connection, but what I found is you need to basically just switch the grid CTs off, to select none, and then it'll work off grid. Right, well, it's now 3 p.m. My car is fully charged. The batteries here at the HQ are now fully charged, and we're clipping again. It's just like we can't use enough of this electricity. Right, another update for you. So it's getting hot in here. It's 25 degrees. So we've turned the air conditioning on. We're starting to use about 7 kilowatts now. But what I've also done is I've enabled public charging on our Zappy charger through Tap Electric, which is like an app that allows local people to see the charger on the network and actually pay for a charging session. So I'm hoping that some people will actually rock up and, you know, start to charge their cars, and we can actually get paid for it and use some of the excess solar energy that we've been generating. I've also plugged in a battery bank that we had downstairs. I'm just trying to plug in as much stuff as I can to use up as much of this electricity as I can. Right, well, a little update for you guys. It is Friday, the 10th of April, and it's officially 10 days now that we've been fully off grid out here at Artisan HQ. And today we've been pushing the boundaries. So we installed the EV charger, and it's been a grey, cloudy day today like this, right? So grey but bright. And surprisingly, the solar has been performing extremely well in this grey but bright weather. So to give you an example, the batteries were down to about 50% when we clocked in this morning. And I thought, you know what, I'll push the boundaries anyway. And I plugged in my Tesla, which was on about 60%. And I fully charged it up to 100%. Then by early afternoon, the solar was generating over 20 kilowatts. So I said to Erica, our finance supervisor, she's got a Tesla as well. I said, plug your Tesla in and try and soak up some of that solar energy. So Erica has also fully charged her Tesla, and the batteries are still at 80% right now, and we've got several hours of daylight, so they'll be at 100% by the time that the sun goes down. So it's just incredible how it's performing, and I feel like we need to push things to the next level again, so I've got a plan. Look what's just arrived. Okay, so test number 3 is Bitcoin mining, and this, believe it or not, is a Bitcoin miner. This is a bit of a weird one, right? But this Bitcoin miner is not just a Bitcoin miner, it's a heater that mines Bitcoin. And we kind of need a bit of extra heat in the workshop because Lauren's down here organising the stores sometimes and she gets a little bit chilly. So we thought we'll plug it in, we'll use some of that excess solar to heat this place and mine some Bitcoin. Let's see how much Bitcoin we can mine in 1 week. Now there's probably loads of questions popping through your mind about this, like what is this device? How does it work? Is it even legal to mine Bitcoin as a business? In fact, I've got a lot of questions too, and we're going to be figuring some of that stuff out over the next week as we put this device into use. So let us know in the comments if you'd like us to do more of a deep dive video about this product and Bitcoin mining for businesses in general. Toasty. So the Bitcoin miner is all plugged in and it's actually only using about 480 watts. So if we were really wanting to soak up all of our solar with Bitcoin mining rigs, we'd probably need about 20 of these. I mean, we could probably earn some serious cash if we had 20 of these running. But for the moment, this is just an experiment. We're going to try this one and we're going to see how it goes. I have no idea how profitable or not this is going to be, but it definitely seems like a cool device. So let's jump to 1 week later and see what the results are. Okay, so it's been about a week now that we've been mining Bitcoin with this Bitcoin mining heater. And I wasn't quite sure whether it would be worth it or not. Well, drum roll, the results are in, and this is how much we've earned from mining Bitcoin in 1 week. So we have mined exactly 6,066 Satoshis, which at the current market rate is about $5. Now the problem with the Bitcoin miner is it doesn't use enough power really, so it only runs at 400 watts, which uses some of our solar generated power, but not enough. The amount of clipping that we've been experiencing, we would need to be running 10, maybe even 20 of these Bitcoin miners to actually use up the excess solar that we've had. So although the principle makes sense to a certain extent, it's not viable for us on a small scale as it currently stands. Well, it's official. It has been a whole month and we have survived officially off grid at Artisan HQ for an entire month. I can't believe it. I genuinely thought we'd have more problems than this, but I've got one final test to do and then I've got something really important to talk to you guys about. So I noticed that the inverter and battery system is actually due for a firmware update. and I've been hesitating to update it while off grid, just in case updating the firmware causes the system to cut out. But before we go back on grid, I just want to try it. I'm just curious to see whether these systems cut out and we lose power when they're doing a firmware update, because in theory that could be problematic. So let's give it a go. This is what I was worried about. The system is operating off grid mode and upgrading may cause loss of power to loads. We recommend performing the upgrade when reconnected to grid or alternate AC supply to prevent loss of power. Okay, let's just do it anyway. Okay, everything started beeping. The fire alarm panel's gone off. Oh no. Everything's in fault because we've got no power. This is what I was worried about. The door access system has stopped working, so everything's open and the emergency light has now gone off as well, which is not good. Ay, 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 we are dark. We've gone dark, guys. Okay, we're back on. So we lost power for about 5 minutes, and that was a moment of panic, but I deliberately did not switch the main switch back on because I wanted to see what would happen. So it did the firmware update. We lost power. Then the system basically did some self-checks, rebooted itself, and came back online. So for you guys who are thinking about running an entirely off-grid site with no physical grid connection, just be aware you need to plan for shutdowns if you want to do firmware updates. But we're back, we've got power, we're off grid again, and now it's time to go on grid. Okay, famous last moment of truth. The power has now gone off as we've gone back on grid, and it looks like there's an error on the inverter. So now we've got no power, we've gone into emergency lighting mode again. So there's definitely an issue with it connecting back on grid for some reason, which we need to figure out. Okay, and just like that, we're back on grid again, and now it's working. There's still a couple of error lights on the inverter, but hopefully those will go. But it's just not seamless. The transition to go back on grid is not seamless. So definitely something to be aware of. So the big question is, after an entire month of running off grid, how much money have we saved? Well, drum roll, and I'll show you the figures. So this is our stats from April, and as you can see, we produced 1,977 kilowatt hours and we used 1,939. So our generation and consumption are almost identical. The energy value here is the key thing. This is how much money we've saved or how much energy we've generated and used. And that is £460.54 based on the energy tariff that we're currently on, which is pretty impressive for 1 month. And you can see the baseline usage here is what we use most days. These days are the days where we've plugged in EVs or we've plugged in the forklift charger and we've tried to maximize self-consumption. And on those days, they're the days where we really had the biggest revenue. So the best revenue day was £27.48 because essentially we used as much of our solar as we could ourselves and saved ourselves a lot of money. So that is it, we're back on grid, and now the new experiment begins. From the 1st of May to the 30th of May, we are going to test AI mode, profit max, and see how much we can earn / save using that and connected to the grid and exporting versus what we've just had with being off grid for an entire month. So make sure you subscribe, like the video if you haven't done so already, to stay tuned for this next episode coming soon.